What's going on, everybody? Z here. Welcome back to another Astroneer quick tips and basics video. This one is on copper and aluminum, or laterite and malachite. So you may have been finding your way across the things, doing the stuff. It's amazing, having a good time, but you now need aluminum or you need copper. Well, guess what? We're gonna go out, we're gonna find it. So a couple of things to start with before we go. Aluminum is laterite in its unrefined state. Copper is malachite in its unrefined state. This is what's gonna look like once it goes onto your bag, but you have to find it first. So where do you find this stuff at? Well, that's a fantastic question. So let's go ahead and start with copper, because copper is one of the more difficult ones, and it's not the most readily available, but you can find copper in hilly biome areas. Now, this is not the most ideal example of copper because I don't typically find it in these types of hills. Copper is usually going to be found on the snowy, rocky areas. Now, if it's adjacent to something else, it might pop up with something else, some other area, but typically it's going to be found kind of in the in these hilly areas of these like snowy, mountainous areas. Now, we're gonna go up. I believe there's some up there. We're gonna go up there and we're gonna grab that and we're gonna bring it down here. But we gotta get oxygen first. Let's make our journey now, shall we? So depending on how you're running, depending on what you're doing, you might want to throw tethers out here, or you could just make oxygen filters, which is what we are going to do in order to kind of go out and do the things without having to worry about tethering up. Oxygen filters are a consumable resource, consumable item that you turn from resin. Oxygen filters, fantastic. That's going to print those bad boys. That's going to give you some oxygen so you can go out, do the stuff, do the things, and hopefully find, there we go, boom, there's some copper right there. So this is where your copper is going to be found. Typically on mountainous areas, that's my go-to. That's where I will always go and look for it. Until you can get to other planets, there are other planets that have copper more readily available. But in the beginning, this is where you're gonna be looking your snowy mountain areas. It could be at the tops of the mountains, it could be at the bottoms, depending on it's just kind of random where it's at, but it's usually in the mountainous areas. So I'm just gonna get up a little bit more. Let's see if we can get one more before we head back. Perfect, looks great. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, we're just gonna slide down this mountain right here real quick and hopefully not die. Ooh, that was close. I don't feel like we fell that far, but hey, you know what? It is what it is. Now, before we do head back, if you do find copper and it's in this type of area, you can see the ground has these marks on it. Well, that indicates that it's a harder type ground, so it's gonna be harder to mine, but you can mine this one. There are other types of ground that are even harder that you will not be able to mine unless you have the drill mods, which we will talk about those in a future episode. But you have your copper, fantastic. Guess what? You're gonna have to hook it up to a smelter, and that right there is going to turn it into copper. It's going to turn it into its final form. So you can go ahead, you can smelt all of it if you want to. I don't believe there's any resources that actually require the unrefined version of copper, so for the most part you're safe to go ahead and to smelt all that down. Now, future things might change it, and there might be actually something you need unrefined copper for, but for now you're pretty much good to go to smelt everything. Now, we need some aluminum. We need some aluminum, or laterite, if it will. We are gonna go and try to find ourselves a cave entrance. We need a cave entrance because aluminum is found underground. That's gonna be your go-to place to find the aluminum. All right, we have a nice little cave entrance right here. I have already gone through. I've placed down some soil. I've placed down some tethers, all the things. Super easy, super amazing. We're gonna head this way. I did already go out and find it to make the video go a little bit faster, but you can go down to your first cave layer, and typically you will find aluminum fairly quickly. It is going to be a bluish, purplish, colorish thing. It's going to look just like this right here. Wonderful. Now, aluminum is fairly easy to get. Aluminum's very easy. You don't typically need a drill mod for it, as long as you're not on another planet or you're not too deep within a planet and the soil is so hard. But aluminum, you get a lot from it too. It yields quite a bit, so you don't actually need to drill or to mine a whole bunch. And just like that, my backpack is pretty much full of aluminum. So that's where you're gonna go to find it. That's where it's at. It's fantastic, it's amazing, it's super easy to get, not usually too difficult to find. But you might have to run around a little bit. You might have to go around, look for it, tether up, tether down. You could even go down another layer if you wanted to, but underground, that's your best bet. You may find some on some wrecks, because there is crash debris, there's things like that, and they do have some resources on them sometimes. I'm trying to see if there's any over here. I don't see any. Things like this. There's these little wrecks, but there's also like full size. There's another wreck over there, but there's also like huge satellite pieces and whatnots, and those can typically have either refined or unrefined aluminum, copper, a whole bunch of random things. Now we're back here at our super amazing smeltery place. We can go ahead, throw on our laterite, and that will turn into the aluminum just like that. Quick rundown. Copper is usually found in the mountainous areas where the little gray soil and like snow-capped areas, and then laterite is found underground, or aluminum underground. So that's where we're gonna go to find those. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully this was helpful for you. Now, like I said, you are gonna have to smelt it, so make sure you do have the smelting furnace unlocked prior to trying to make anything out of aluminum. But you can always get that later if you wanted to, or if you happen to find it along the way, you know, there you go. Wonderful. But yes, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next one.